Hello, everybody, and welcome to All Queued Up, your review podcast tied to streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney Plus, etc., etc., etc. I'm your host, Greg Diaz, and with me always is my Don Fisher. How's your week been?
Well, it's been pretty good. I'm better. I feel much, much better than I did last week, which
Good.
fortunately it was just a mild cold. But it just sucked because it was the first time I'd been sick in like 4 fucking years. I still have a little bit of lingering, like runny nose on occasion. I have to blow my nose a couple of times a day, but other than that, I feel great. Uh, Unfortunately, now Misty's come down with it.
That
Um,
happens, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah,
I guess the good thing about her getting sick is that she works from home, so.
yeah, exactly. You know, and but yeah, the week's been good. Got a couple cute new dresses. Yay! Uh, like you give a shit, but still, uh, got got our regular D&D in. Got this sweet kick-ass Masters of the Universe Mega Construct Snake Mountain in yesterday that I've had pre-ordered for quite a while, and it shipped last week, and it got here yesterday, and it'll be awesome to set up next to the Castle Grayskull. It'll probably take me a week to fucking build the thing because there's like 3,800 pieces,
Yeah.
which is even more than the Castle Grayskull, and that took me about 24 or 28 hours to build over several sessions. So I'll look for this to be approximately the same. But yeah, other than that, things have been going pretty good. How's your week been?
It's been all right. It's, yeah, I can't say bad since the last we spoke. I mean, I really got to find a different job. So I have a story for everybody. Oh boy. My boss, the owner of the company I work for. So just for everyone to clarify, I don't work for U-Haul. I work for a guy named Steve. And it's his private company. He rents out storage units and RV spaces, but also does U-Haul stuff as well. He gets about a 20 to 15% commission for every rental of a U-Haul truck or trailer. Um, with that out of the way, this story is an example of how he handles his business. And I don't get it. It is real dumb. So he constantly complains about having the trailers at his facility because U-Haul trailers, I think the most expensive is $25 a day.
Yeah, you're talking about the pull behind ones.
Yes. Not the box trucks
Okay.
or the vans or the pickup trucks. Um. So yeah, the most expensive trailer that you can get is $25 per day, and it does not rate based on mileage. Because why would you do that? It's a trailer.
Exactly. It's a trailer. You're pulling it behind. It's a flat rate.
How much do you think he gets percentage wise if he gets 15% of 25% of $25?
Well, I mean, 10% would be 250. So, 350.
Right. He hates that. He has no interest in having those trailers there because he doesn't make any money off of them. By the time he's done paying whatever he has to pay, he's in the hole. So I understand that. I understand he does not care about renting out the trailers. He has them there as a convenience for people. He's talking about getting rid of them, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense. However, what he also does, which makes no sense to me, is he'll do some kind of weird shit that's a waste of his time, a waste of his breath. So this happened Sunday evening, and like strap in, folks, because it is a wild situation. Guy calls on Wednesday prior to the Sunday I'm talking about, and he wants a 4x8 enclosed trailer. Those are basically like trailers that are box trucks, but they're small. They're 4x8.
Now, they still pull behind, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my stepdad actually owns a trailer similar to that, like in that size. We used it when we moved. It's what he hauls his motorcycles in. So
Yeah. So yeah. So okay. So the 4x8. He wants the 4x8. He wants it for 7 days. We don't carry a 4x8. We have a 5x8, but we don't have a 4x8. Or that facility doesn't. I'm sorry. I don't want to say we because I
yeah,
don't want to work there for much longer. So Steve is like, okay, let me help you find one. So you go through the system and you look up other locations that might have one. And the closest location that had a 4x8 was in Nevada.
mm,
That's about a 2 to 2.5 hour drive from where we live. So understandably, the guy's like, I'm not making that trip. Okay, we get that, but that's the closest one that U-Haul has. And I'd be specific. That's the entirety of U-Haul. So the guy was like, well, what do you have? And Steve goes, we have a 5x8 enclosed trailer, and there's plenty of those around, but that's all we got. And he's like, but I only need the 4x8. Can I get a discount? No, at this point, I'm like, okay, he's just kind of a pain in the ass customer. We've all dealt with those.
yeah.
But the guy's not being belligerent. The guy's not being angry. He's just, if I'm only using 4x8, can I get a discount on the 5x8? You cannot. U-Haul doesn't do that. And the guy was
No,
like,
it's like if you rent a 27-foot truck, but you only need 20 feet of truck, you're still having to pay for that extra 7 feet.
well, that was exactly what like the guy was complaining about. But here's the price difference between the 4 and the 5. $3.
Three
The
fucking dollars.
the 4x8 is $15. The 5x8 is $18 a day. So he's complaining about more than just $3, but because he's having it he wanted it for 7 days, but still, like he's complaining about $3.
It's only a $21 price difference after a week.
Yep. So it's wild, but we've all dealt with those customers.
Yeah.
So how I would have handled it is just, you have two options, dude. 5x8 or drive to Nevada. That's all I can tell you. If you want a discount or something, you can take that up with somebody higher than me. And the guy tells Steve's, oh, that's fine. I'll just call corporate and see if they can do anything for me. Steve's like, great. You go ahead and do that. Good luck. It's not going to happen, but good luck. And that was that, right? Sunday rolls around. It's quiet. It's slow. We're just chilling. All of a sudden, Steve goes, now see here, Greg, this is what I would do. And I'm just like, what would you do, Steve? What the fuck would you do? And he's like, you see that name on the list there? And I was like, yeah. He goes, I would call that number, and ask if they're going to be here to pick up that 5x8 trailer because they gave me a ration of shit on Wednesday. And I'm like, okay. That's when he tells me about the call they had. And he was like, so I pick up the phone, I call this guy, and I'm like, hey, we're just verifying that you're going to pick up your trailer at 2:30. You have a scheduled pickup. And he goes, yeah. But I have a discrepancy. And I'm like, of course you do. Because in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, he's going to ask about this discrepancy when he comes in, regardless, right? And we're going to tell him the same thing that we would tell anybody, because we literally cannot change the price. There's nothing any of us can do. That is a 100% corporate U-Haul thing. So I explained that to him in a sort of way, and he goes, all right, I'll just take that up with corporate. And there's no 4x8s anywhere. I was like, nah. He goes, okay. So I got the phone with him, and Steve's like, so he's going to be here? And I said, yeah. He's like, you know what I'm going to do? And I was like, whatever you want to do, Steve. So Steve creates a fake account to look up to see if there's any 4x8s in the area. Well, a mile away from us, this place called the Box Store had a 5x8 or 4x8, so like randomly. And Steve was like, okay, well, I'm going to transfer it. I'm going to call traffic because the traffic department changes pickups and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I'm just going to transfer it. And I thought, okay, cool. That's great. Because Steve doesn't care at that point. He's like, I'm not getting much money out of it anyway, so I'm just going to transfer it. Makes sense to me. So Steve then says, but we're not going to call or text him. I want him to walk in here and ask us if we have it, and then we're just going to send him to the box store. What? Why? Why are you making this harder for us? So he makes the transfer. He calls Traffic, makes the transfer. Now, Traffic was supposed to text and or email the guy, basically saying, hey, your reservation changed, yada, yada, yada. So Steve then calls the box store and says, hey, so there's this asshole that's going to come in later because he is picking up a 4x8 and he's a complete dick and yada, yada, yada. And the box store people are like, we'll deal with him if he comes in if he's a dick. And I'm like, why are you calling a different store telling them that this customer's a dick? Like, what are you doing? It is so fucking bizarre. And now as you're hearing this story, you're like, why would you do this, right? I go out and I'm helping customers. It's getting closer and closer to the time the guy's supposed to be there. So I'm out there parking trucks after signing a couple people in. And it's like 2:45 at this point. The guy showed up hella late. And he goes, all of a sudden this guy goes, hey, do you work here? And I was like, yes, I do. And he goes, so did I talk to you? And I said, are you Mark Lopez? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, you talked to me. I probably shouldn't use full names, but whatever. Also, Lopez is a very common name, and so is Mark. So who cares? Good luck finding that one guy I'm talking about. So I was like, yeah, you talked to me. And he goes, so what the fuck is up with my reservation? And I said, right after I got off the phone with you, my boss in there, the owner, he went and looked if there was one, yada, and I tell him the spiel, and he goes, so I can't rent the 5x8? And I was like, you can rent the 5x8, but you wanted a 4x8 from what I understand. I mean, you even said that to me on the phone. You wanted a discount because you wanted the 4x8. So we found like one came in and we didn't know about it, but it's at the box store. And he was like, well, why didn't you guys text or call me? And I said, oh, that was Traffic supposed to do that. Traffic was supposed to text and call you, or not call you, or text and email you. But he said, I didn't get shit. And I was like, we didn't anticipate that. That wasn't intentional. Like they should have contacted you. And he was getting like angry, but like also calm. And he goes, is that your dad in there? And I went, God, no. Just a knee-jerk, God, no. And he goes, oh, he's just working. I was like, yeah, I've only been here for a month. And he goes, that guy in there is a complete dickhead. And I was like, sure. Like, I'm not going to argue that. And he goes, so it's at the box store. I was like, yeah, it should be at the box store. We even called and double-checked with them to make sure it was there. They're expecting you. And he was like, all right. And the guy's dad standing there and he goes, well, why can't we get the 5x8? And I was like, again, we have the 5x8. You can pick it up right now. We just have to, get it going for you and then hook it up for you and you're out of here. But, from what I understand, you wanted the 4x8. So we found a 4x8 for you. And the guy was like, all right, tell that guy in there to stop being such a dick. And I was like, okay. So I go inside and Steve goes, well, did he hound you out there too? So I tell Steve a half truth because I'm like, I'm not telling you everything I said out there.
Especially the God no.
Especially the God no. So a little bit of time passes. I'd say maybe 15 minutes. And Steve goes, oh, I need to call the box store and see what happened. Actually, let me go to his contract and see if he got it. So Steve looks up. He's like, okay, so he did pick it up. I'm going to call the box store and see what happened. So I go outside and I'm helping another customer park a van. I come back inside and Steve goes, so apparently he came into the box store and he was all pissed off about the situation, calling us assholes. I'm sitting thinking, like, the fuck I do? How am I an asshole in this situation? Oh, pardon me. And um, oh my god, what was it? Steve says, oh, that's what it was. So Steve calls them and they tell Steve that like the guy called us an asshole and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, yeah, kind of whatever, it is what it is. Thinking this ordeal is over. A few moments pass by, and Steve goes, "You know what? I'm gonna put him on e-alert." And I'm like, "Why? Why the fuck are you putting him on e-alert?" Now, do you know what e-alert is?
I'm going to say it's like a red flag on somebody's account, but
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not sure exactly what the consequences of having an alert would be.
So an e-alert is designed by U-Haul to basically say don't rent to this person because of whatever reason it may or may not be. For example, a person had come in recently and they tried to rent and they couldn't because they were on e-alert. When they call, because we have to give them a piece of paper that says call this number, figure out what's going on, try to get them to clear it, and then we can rent to you. So this person goes ahead and calls U-Haul, and it turned out that they had an outstanding bill from like 6 years ago. So they paid that bill, which was like $9 or some shit, got e-alert taken off. Another example, somebody came in, like e-alert basically says that they can't rent through U-Haul and to call the number, and it turned out that like they had a situation back in 2015 where somebody stole their U-Haul and they had to make a police report or whatever, and U-Haul accidentally put them on e-alert. So that's e-alert.
Yeah.
Steve put this guy on e-alert because of this situation and lied on the information saying that the guy was belligerent and like attacked us or some shit.
Guys, your boss is crazier than a barn full of clown pubes.
Yeah. So that's what it's like working at this place. So when I tell people like it fucking sucks, now you know what I'm talking about. Now you know exactly what I'm getting at.
It's one of my new favorite sayings, by the way. Crazier than a barn full of clown pubes.
Are you saying pubes?
Pubes.
No, barn full of clown pubes is
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's from the new Patton Oswalt special, and he does a whole bit talking about how somebody was committed enough to fill a barn full of clown pubes, and then how could you prove they're from a clown? And oh my god, oh, it's so fucking funny.
Is this one on Netflix?
Yeah, it's the one it debuted yesterday.
Gotcha.
We All Scream. It's really good.
I might check it out sometime. Not today, but yeah. So that's that.
Another thing I checked out this past weekend was a show by Greg Garcia on the app called Freevee. It's also available as a channel through Amazon's Prime Video, but it's a show called Sprung, and it stars Garrett Dillahunt and Martha Plimpton, who were in Raising Hope, and quite enjoyable. I enjoyed it a lot. Check that out if you haven't.
Yeah, I need to. I saved it. I put it like in a my watch list or whatever the fuck it was.
Hell yeah.
Well, aside from all that garbage,
yeah, things we
we
actually
have
did watch.
we have actually a pretty fucking stacked show today because, well, we're nerds and like to watch nerdy things, and so we already had 3 shows and we added Andor to it. So what we're reviewing today is Rings of Power episode 4 on Amazon Prime, House of the Dragon episode 5 on HBO Max, She-Hulk Attorney at Law episode 6 on Disney Plus, and Andor episodes 1, 2, and 3 also on Disney Plus. So let's go ahead and start that. We're going to start with Rings of Power. I basically read the order in which we're going to review, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, episode 4 of The Rings of Power is called The Great Wave. Here's a quick write up from Wikipedia. It says, gazing into a palantir, Muriel has a vision of the tidal wave destruction of Numenor. And she shares this vision with Galadriel. And basically tells Galadriel that when you show up in this vision is what ushers in Numenor's destruction, which is why they've been apprehensive, especially of her. Chancellor Pharazôn encourages discord between Numenorians and elves. Halbrand manipulatively well advises Galadriel, then Pharazôn. Galadriel convinces Muriel to wage war against the orcs in the Southlands, and war preparations begin. Isildur and his friends are kicked out of the Naval Academy, but then join the war effort. Adar appears to be a scarred elf from the Elder Days. Adar releases Elondir to give a surrender offer to the humans taking refuge in the Orc Tower. The orcs find out the Orc Tower is the Elf Tower, the Watchtower. Jesus, why'd they put Orc Tower? I hate Wikipedia sometimes. Anyway, the orcs find out the ancient artifact Evil Sword hilt they seek is in the tower. The dwarves have found Mithril and kept it a secret, but Elrond discovers the mine. King Durin sends Prince Durin to discover what the elves of Lindon are up to.
I will say this about the Mithril scene, by the way. It was a little cheesy. Mainly because, like, Durin is like, in our tongue it's this, but in your tongue it's mithril, and I'm like, okay. That's a little corny. I love it, but a little corny.
Yeah.
No, this episode was fucking fantastic.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
For one, you have dwarves in an episode, I'm in. Like,
Greg has weird. A boner for dwarves.
It's not, well, I mean, not in that fashion. Maybe Disa, but the thing about dwarves that makes Lord of the Rings so much fun is that they're just kind of silly. And they're fun to deal with in that silliness, But specifically, like, when they have a friendship with a different character. So, like, everybody loves the relationship that why can't I think of his name? The one from the movie that like was competing with Legolas.
Gimli.
Jeez Louises. Yeah, Gimli and Legolas's relationship. That was super fucking fun. And the fact that they have, like, there's something like that in this show is just an absolute blast. So every time that they were on screen, I was like, yes, more of this. And then we go back to Galadriel, and I'm like, oh, fucking okay, sure. But then there's the whole thing with our elf friend. I don't remember his name.
Elondir,
yes, and the elf that's like controlling orcs. Adar. God, that was, I was fascinated by that.
Adar. I don't know.
Adore. Yeah, there was just so much in this episode, and every scene was packed full of lore or like story building continuation. I was just like, yo, this is so good. So much
fun. Like, this write-up doesn't even cover how the orcs discover that sword hilt that they're looking for. Bronwyn's son Theo and one of his friends go back to the village to get food because the Watchtower has no food stores. And the hunting is drying up in the area. So they go to the village, which it seems abandoned. They go in the daytime. Well, some orcs are in the buildings, and one of the orcs is trying to attack him, and he pulls out that sword hilt because it does have a little bit of a broken blade on the end of it, and slashes the orc, and the orc recognizes it. So now the orcs are like, "Oh, it's here. What we've been looking for is here." And then that thing at the reveal at the end when he gets back to the watchtower, and that the guy that ran the pub or whatever it was, the tavern, whatever the cook,
Yeah.
he's like shows the fucking mark on his arm.
Yeah.
So you know we got
Um,
we got a dirty guy.
yeah, like this show was definitely like it was going uphill, and then this episode was just straight the fun part going. Like, I don't want to say it's downhill because the show's not going downhill. It's, continues to getting better. But you know how when you're on a roller coaster and the down part's like the more fun part than the climb up? This was
Oh
the
yeah,
down part. That's a terrible analogy because that's not how people use those analogies anyway. Or metaphor, doesn't matter. I fucking loved this episode. There was so much. It was like you said, like every turn had a new thing that was just increasingly more fun.
yeah.
Um, even if there is a little bit of cheese in it, I'm in it. I'm fucking 100% in it. I do really enjoy Gladriel's story,
Mm-hmm.
but it is easily the slowest out of all the stories being told. But I think that's intentional because the other stories are much quicker and more action packed. Aside from like a fight scene, oh my gosh!
You okay?
So it's just belchy. I was trying not to burp into the mic.
Well, our listeners will appreciate that.
Yes. So, um, yeah, I can't think of anything else because we didn't visit the Harfoots or the Meteor Man.
Meteor Man, that was a horrible movie back in the 90s.
It was. No, Blank Man is where it's at. But yeah, like I don't think there's anything else to add because like you got a lot of lore with Galadriel, which is really good considering that they like we need that lore. We need to further the story that we have with Galadriel
Mm-hmm.
and the humans in Numenor, and we got a lot of that. And now Numenor is like this is the beginning of the pack between or the not pack but
The last alliance of man and elf.
yeah. That's the beginning of that. It's like that's fucking awesome that we get to experience that. God, I love that the elves have their hand in fucking everything, by the way. But it makes sense. They're immortal, unless they're shot by a couple arrows. You know what I mean? But yeah, I did. The show is much better than I thought it was going to be. So I'm in. But since we have so much to review, why don't we go ahead and just give it a grade and move on?
Yeah. This episode gets an absolute A plus. It was
I agree.
well paced. Keeps your interest from the very beginning to the very end, and left you with wanting more. And fortunately, we get that tomorrow. Thankfully. Um, but yeah, it's well done. The things that they do well week in, week out. When it comes to the technical aspects of the scoring, the cinematography, the acting, the dialogue, everything is done very well. But this just pushed it a little bit further, and I think this is the best episode we've gotten so far.
Wholeheartedly agree with that.
But of course, it had to build upon those prior episodes to get this, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it we absolutely needed to have what we got in this episode to have that moment of just like realization of how good this show is going to be. I completely agree with you on that. Had they jumped to this in like episode 3, it wouldn't have felt as fulfilling. or satisfying. Mainly because like we need that dichotomy between characters. We need to see what the characters are thinking and doing leading up to it. Like it's that same problem that Game of Thrones had or something to that effect. It's just too quick, or like a lot of people had with the movies of Lord of the Rings, where it's just moving too quick for people. So, but yeah, A plus. I can't wait to watch tomorrow's episode. I just can't wait. It's going to be fun. This whole show is just fun. It's just super fun. But
it is. It is.
Well, speaking of Game of Thrones, because I did that intentionally. House of the Dragon episode 5.
Yeah, this was titled "We Light the Way," or no, yeah, "We Light the Way." Sorry,
I don't know the names of the episodes.
It opens up with a Lady Rhea Royce in the Vale. Apparently, this is Daemon's estranged wife, and she's like, "Oh, you're finally here to consummate the marriage, are you?" And you can tell that there's great disdain for and contempt for each other between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't utter a word to her. He just basically spooks her horse to where she's thrown off of her horse and she falls and breaks her neck. And then, she's laying there pretty much paralyzed, and calls him a coward. And then he grabs a rock and finishes her off. Then we see cuts to Viserys and Rhaenyra. They've traveled to what is the name of it? Is it Dawnstone? I can't remember the name of the actual home of Lord Corlys, but
I was like, you're gonna ask me that question?
Yeah. He proposes a marriage between Rhaenyra and Lord Corlys's son, Sir Laenor Valerion, to which Lord Corlys happily agrees. Rhaenyra understands that Laenor's homosexuality. Rhaenyra understands Laenor's homosexuality and proposes performing royal duties while having lovers. She rejects Sir Criston's idea to run away together, saying that their relationship remains the same. To which Sir Criston is like, "Oh, so you'll have me be your whore." He was not happy with that. Before leaving King's Landing, Sir Otto warns Queen Alicent that Rhaenyra becoming queen makes Alicent's children a threat to the crown. Alicent questions Sir Criston about Rhaenyra and Daemon, only to learn that Sir Criston was the princess's lover. At a celebratory feast, Alicent enters the hall during the king's speech, purposely wearing a green gown, the signal color for House Hightower's call to arms. When Daemon unexpectedly arrives, Sir Gerald Royce confronts him, claiming Daemon murdered his cousin, Lady Rhea. Daemon denies it and demands his wife's lands. Laenor's lover, Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, surmises that Criston loves Rhaenyra and smugly suggests they guard each other's secrets. Despondent over Rhaenyra and breaking his Kingsguard vows, Criston becomes enraged. He attacks and kills Joffrey, beating his face to an unrecognizable pulp of mass, by the way. Devastating Laenor and horrifying guests. Shortly after Rhaenyra and Laenor are privately wed, Viserys collapses after the ceremony, and later Alicent intervenes as Criston is about to commit suicide. A lot of shit happened in this episode.
Yeah. This was the most Games of Thronesy episode we've had yet.
Yeah.
So going through the episode, I was just kind of like, okay, it's a lot of political stuff. It's that royal political shit that's happening, and like this, there was a time hop in this episode, but not as much as the others.
No, this one was just a few weeks, maybe a few months. But
yeah, because like Alicent was still trying to get that information about
yeah.
What can I remember her
Rhaenyra.
name? Rhaenyra, thank you. But yeah, like it was cool. It was definitely fucking cool. But I did get like, so my dad never watched Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
And he's, so I got him to start watching this with me, and he's been really enjoying it. But because he's never watched Game of Thrones, he just doesn't know. He doesn't know what Game of Thrones can do. So going into this episode, and they start talking about a wedding. I'm like, uh-oh. Oh, no.
It was
And
funny because you messaged me and you're like, I have anxiety about this episode.
I was
And
like,
I
something
just,
bad's going to happen. Well, I told my dad, that's what I explained to my dad. I was like, yeah, I'm having anxiety. And Dad's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. I know that something bad's going to happen. He's like, how do you know something bad's going to happen? I'm like, because it's a wedding in Game of Thrones. And he's like, why is that a bad thing? I'm like, oh, you sweet summer child. Yeah, like bad shit went down. Maybe not as bad as other weddings, but definitely bad enough.
well, considering that this was supposed to be the start of a week-long wedding celebration with tournaments and feasts, and ended up being, a bloodbath, so to speak. Not to mention that whole creepy fucking scene with Damon approaching Rhaenyra and about to kiss her as the fight breaks out. And she's telling him to take her. That's what you want, isn't it? Go ahead and take me. And I'm like, you? Just you?
Yeah. I mean, that's.
But they have this secret wedding, like emergency private wedding immediately after. I mean, dude's face chunks and blood were still on the floor.
Yep.
Bits of brain. Yeah.
Yep. It was wild. And
from my understanding, this was a lot of these actors are being replaced after this episode because there's going to be a significant time jump next, like 10 years at least.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Well, because Prince Aegon, Rhaenyra's baby brother, who remember in episode 3 was like 2 years old, he's going to be a teenager in the time jump. So.
Yeah.
And he's being portrayed by David Tennant's son, Ty Tennant.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the girl who was playing Rhaenyra, people are actually like legit upset that they're doing a time hop to make her age, because she is a phenomenal actress.
Yeah, she's great.
But
yeah, her and the actress plays Alicent there.
Yeah.
They're being replaced, which sucks, but I get it.
Oh, it's clear, right, that that when we next episode the king is going to be dead, right? We're understanding that.
I'm pretty sure he's deader than fuck.
Yeah, because I mean he's dying right now. Like, I don't think he has very long left in any shape, way, or form. So
no, and they have been progressively telegraphing his demise.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I mean, like, it's not just characters are getting replaced. Like, straight up characters are gone. They're just going to be gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really, the other thing I like about this show is it's a bit more condensed than what Game of Thrones was. Because we had a butt fuck ton of characters in Game of Thrones. But House of the Dragon, we have like maybe 1/3 of that.
Yeah. So far.
But that's what I like about it. It's a bit more condensed. It's less heavy. Well, maybe not less heavy, but it's less.
I wouldn't say it's less heavy. It's more focused.
It's more focused. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Which I personally really enjoy. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and move forward and give it a grade and go on to the next thing.
What grade would you give this episode?
Oh, an A+. Like,
yeah.
You elicit an emotion out of me, or a feeling that I can't control. Well done. Well fucking done. like you said, I text you like I'm having anxiety about this fucking wedding because I knew some bad shit was going to go down. I just didn't know what bad shit.
And I just respond with a gif of a lady just nodding in anticipation.
Um, so like, well, fucking done. Had me from the fucking get. I will say this about House of the Dragon: it is less gory than Game of Thrones is. Because in Game of Thrones, they would have shown for a solid couple seconds that dude's caved in face. Like, we watched a dude's head pop like a watermelon. Game of Thrones was more brutal in its gross than this show is.
So far.
So far. But that's not a bad thing. This isn't a complaint. This is more of like a Game of Thrones should 100% be about the characters. And if we're getting too much in lieu of sex and gore, then it's not as good. It just straight up is not as good at that point. So this is not a complaint. This is just an acknowledgement of like, hey, I see what y'all are doing. But yeah. What do you think? What's your grade?
Oh, I have to agree. It was, as with the last show we discussed, The Rings of Power, I gave it an A+. I also give this episode an A+, because it was just fucking well done. The, the intrigue, the fucking, like, how's Alicent taking all this news of, oh, yeah, I defended her virtue, and come to find out she didn't have any. How's that going to come into play between their recently repaired relationship?
I thought I thought the knight was gonna lie. I really did. He was just like, nope, I fucked her. It was she wanted to though.
I need to know about the princess. I fucked her.
I put my pee inside her.
She initiated it, but I still did it.
I didn't fight. Oh shit.
Yeah. The memes of that dude this week have been funny.
Oh, I haven't seen any.
Oh, I've seen a few. It's just, she walks into the room and just says his name, like Sir Kristen. I fucked her.
like a Pavlovian dog.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I haven't seen any. That's crazy. But yeah, that's any other thoughts about it, or just want to move on?
Well, considering we still have an episode of She-Hulk and 3 episodes of Andor to talk about, let's move on.
Yeah. Well, She-Hulk episode 6.
Yeah, just Jen. This is a wedding episode.
Oh, it was fucking funny. I enjoyed it so much.
Jennifer is invited to be a bridesmaid at her old friend Lulu's wedding. When she arrives at the reception as She-Hulk, she is disappointed to find that Lulu wants her to present as her normal self instead of being in her Hulk form, and is saddened with numerous pre-wedding duties. Things become even more complicated when Titania shows up at the reception, as she is dating one of Lulu's groomsmen. Jen bonds with Josh, a friend of the groom, before Titania attacks her and demands a fight. Jen then transforms into She-Hulk, and they fight briefly until Titania loses a tooth and lost more than a tooth. She cracked her veneers, loses her cool before storming out. Now, while this is going on, Mallory Book and what's her name? Nikki.
Yeah.
Mallory and Nikki are working on a divorce case for a superhuman individual known as Mr. Immortal, who has gotten out of numerous previous marriages by repeatedly faking his own death, but the case becomes more difficult when 8 of Mr. Immortal's previous spouses all file suits against him after discovering his secret, thanks to an online video on a site called Intelligentsia showing one of his feigned deaths. Nikki is able to resolve the case by helping all 8 of the spouses to work out compensation deals. As she and Mallory discuss the aftermath of the case, however, they discover a message board of an organization on Intelligentsia that contains numerous death threats aimed at She-Hulk. Meanwhile, the organization is ready to, some mysterious organization is shown getting ready to try to prepare a high tensile strength hypodermic needle to steal Jennifer's blood sample after failing prior when the Wrecking Crew was unable to get her blood. So I'm hoping we're going to see the Wrecking Crew again.
Yeah. Who do you think the Wrecking Crew is working for? Do you think it's the leader? Since we know the leader is going to be in
the next. Yeah, the leader's going to be in the next Captain America movie.
That's right. Yes.
We found that out at the D23 Expo.
And more commonly, the leader is usually a villain for the Hulk.
Yes. But the Hulk is off-world, and they've written that into the show. So I'm wondering if maybe the Wrecking Crew is working for the leader. That could be a thing. You know, I immediately was suspecting the Absorbing Man because they've worked with the Absorbing Man so much in the comics, but I don't know. It's difficult to say. I just want to see them again, though. I love the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah. People are pissed off about the Wrecking Crew, by the way, for the show. Some people.
People are pissed off about the show, period.
This one has a little bit more ground than in the past. But, yeah, one of the Wrecking Crew members in the comic is black. None of the Wrecking Crew in the show are black. So they're pissed off about that.
Thunderball.
Yeah, Thunderball.
I'd have to go back and look. I thought one of them was. I just thought they maybe have swapped their names around.
No, they're all lighter in skin tone. I can't tell if any of them are not white, but I can tell you that none of them are black.
Gotcha.
But
that is unfortunate.
I mean, it's nothing we can control.
No.
And I don't think it's the worst thing to do in lieu of that, because anybody could be a Wrecking Crew member, really, if we're going to break it down. So
that's true. And in fact, I know there's been replacement members. Like, I think Bulldozer's daughter took his place on the team.
I get that people want black representation, and I'm not against it. Like, hey, if you're mad about Little Mermaid, go fuck yourself. But this one just seems like a little bit of a weird hill to die on, specifically for She-Hulk and the Wrecking Crew. But I do get where you're coming from, especially people who are like, it needs to be more like the comic. Well, so anyway, yeah, I don't know. Like, I was thinking it might have been AIM. We know that MODOK is going to be a villain coming up in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Yeah.
So maybe it's AIM. Maybe that was MODOK, or oh my god, what is MODOK's fucking name? I'm trying to blank on it. The fuck is his goddamn name?
What?
Before he becomes MODOK.
George Tarleton.
George Tarleton. It might be George Tarleton.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. So, like, but I don't think it's really any other group. Like, it might be, and I say might very lightly, Kingpin. I was hoping that when you closed the suitcase, we would have had some logo to run off of, but it was like, here's a Biohazard logo. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought the episode was really, really funny. It was a lot of fun too, leading up to Jen at this wedding. The fact that they play off of the like, it's a wedding episode, have fun. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, nothing to really complain about. I mean, I will argue that the episode in terms of story wasn't super heavy on story.
No.
Um,
But the lighthearted, playful tone of the show was there.
yes,
And,
very much is.
very enjoyable.
Yep, I agree. I mean, yeah, I there's nothing I can add. I love the shots of She-Hulk versus Titania because it looked exactly like the comic. Like that slow motion shot where she punches her.
Mm-hmm.
Like it reminded me of a comic book panel where She-Hulk was
yeah.
punching Titania. So I was very happy with it. I do laugh though because people online are like, this show is hyper unrealistic. Because who in their right mind wouldn't be attracted to Tatiana Maslany? And I'm like, I agree with that sentiment. I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. Who wouldn't be attracted to her? But any other final thoughts before we move on to a grade?
No. I'll give this episode an A. I don't think it's quite A plus. More of a standalone. Doesn't tie in too much with the overarching story, but it's still enough of it's there. But it was a lot of fun. It was just a really fun episode.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's apologize. Still waking up apparently. Yeah, it's a standalone comedy episode that didn't add too much, but also didn't try to add too much. It was like, it's a little fun episode. For anybody that is only watching She-Hulk for Daredevil, quit pretending to be a fan. And I don't mean to do that as in like I'm gatekeeping, but I am going to gatekeep you right now. You are not a fan of Marvel. And I'm not saying that in lieu of like you have to like She-Hulk. But if you're only watching She-Hulk for Daredevil, go ahead and just show me your Daredevil comic books. Show me that you've been a fan of Daredevil before the Netflix show. And if that's the case and that's why you're watching She-Hulk, it's still weird. It's still really fucking weird. I will never understand this shit. I went to Twitter because I was like, oh man, I wonder what everybody's saying that organization is that's trying to get her blood. Like, I want to hear the theories. And it's just a bunch of people whining and complaining that Daredevil wasn't in this episode. And I'm like, you know what? I genuinely hope Daredevil's in the last episode and that's it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I really want Daredevil to show up too in more than one episode. I'd like for him to be in at least two. I'd prefer it all three, but that's just me. But at the same time, it's not the Daredevil show. It is the She-Hulk Attorney at Law show. But Daredevil is an attorney by day. So I do want to see that crossover.
Me too. Again, I one of my favorite comics was one where old man Steve Rogers hired She-Hulk to represent him or as a defendant, and then the prosecutor was Matt Murdock. It was a great fucking 7-issue comic. I loved it. I'd love to see that on screen in some fashion, in some capacity. The problem is it's just catering to these fucking whiny bitches. Neckbeards, yeah. It just it's so irritating. It's like you don't have to like She-Hulk. No one's asking you no one's telling you have to like She-Hulk. But we are saying, like, if you're watching She-Hulk only for Daredevil, that's fucking weird. Like, ugh, anyway. Yeah, She-Hulk's a great show. I really enjoy it. Like, I know that some people are like, the CGI is a little off, and I'm like, yeah. You know, one of the things that Disney's been doing, and I really kind of wish they wouldn't, but also at the same time, it's like they want to put things out in a timely fashion, is they're going to go back and they're going to add a bunch of, like, they're going to I don't say edit, but they're going to make everything look better in the show. Like, I mean, for Christ's sake, the stuff that they've already edited and then, like, just re-uploaded to Disney Plus to make it look a little smoother, to make it look a little better. So they're gonna go in and patch it, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I just get irritated with fucking people watching She-Hulk right now. I'd say most people, though, are really enjoying it. Like, my mom fucking loves it. And she's not super into comic books to begin with. So I'm happy with that. But all right, let's go ahead and move on to Andor, episode 1, 2, and 3, which we should treat this 3-parter as a movie. Because if we're being honest, it had one complete story.
Or for the most part, yeah.
I mean, it's I think Andor's gonna play like a 3-part, like a trilogy of movies. And we how many episodes was it? 9?
It's 12.
12?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be 4 movies. Broken up into 3 episodes a pop. I guarantee it.
Quite possibly. So I'm just gonna go down and read the synopsis of all 3 back to back to back.
Yeah, go ahead. Do your thing.
So it opens up. It actually says 5 years BBY before the Battle of Yavin. We see Cassian Andor traveling to the industrial planet of Morlana 1 on the trail of his missing sister. While searching for her in a brothel, he's antagonized by 2 Primor Authority security officers. An altercation between the trio shortly ensues outside the brothel, leading to Cassian accidentally killing one officer and executing the other. He flees to the planet Ferrix, where he attempts to hide his involvement by convincing his adopted mother Marva's droid, B2EMO. They just called him what? BMO, was it?
Yeah, which is funny because that's the name of a character in Adventure Time.
Oh, okay. And his friend Brasso to cover for him. Cassian also asks his friend Bix to connect him with a black market buyer, as Cassian has acquired a Starpath unit, a valuable piece of Imperial navigation technology. Bix agrees and contacts the buyer, but her attempts to hide her connection with Cassian makes her boyfriend Tim suspicious. Back on Morlana 1, the chief inspector of security elects to cover up the murders to improve his reports to the Imperial authorities, but his deputy, the ambitious Cyril Karn, is determined to solve the case. Karn identifies Cassian's borrowed ship and traces it to Ferrix, and learns from an eyewitness from the brothel that Cassian stated he was from the planet Canary. In a flashback, a younger Cassian, known as Cassa, and his tribe on Canary decide to investigate a crashed ship, only to stumble upon an immense Republic mining operation. So that's the write-up for episode 1. Episode 2, the write-up's much shorter. It says, Tim, still suspicious of Bix and Cassian, reports Cassian to Primor Security, who issues a warrant for Cassian's arrest. Karn partners with Sergeant Mosk, an equally ambitious and aggressive Primor officer, to arrest Cassian. BMO informs Cassian and Marva of the warrant, sending Marva into a panic. Cassian prepares to flee the planet. Meanwhile, Bix's buyer, Luthen Rael, travels to Ferrix to obtain the Starpath unit. In the flashback scene on Canary, we see Cassa and his friends from the village locate and investigate the crashed ship, but they're attacked by a survivor. The tribe successfully kills the attacker, but leaves the crash when one of their own is killed. Cassa stays behind to explore the ship. Episode 3. Luthen arrives on Ferrix, where he's informed by Bix as to Cassian's arrest warrant. Luthen remains undeterred and expresses particular interest in meeting Cassian in person. Karn and Sergeant Mosk arrive on Ferrix, accompanied by 12 additional security officers. They raid Marva's home and question her as to Cassian's location. She refuses to cooperate. However, Karn intercepts a transmission from Cassian to BMO, allowing the security officers to pinpoint Cassian's position. The townsfolk, having witnessed the raid, go into lockdown, ringing bells across the city to signal other workers to follow suit and intimidate the officers. Cassian and Luthen meet in an abandoned factory. Despite Cassian's desire to quickly sell the Starpath unit and leave Ferrix, Luthen tries to persuade him to join the Rebel Alliance, citing Cassian's repeated success at stealing from and sabotaging Imperial ships. However, the factory is surrounded by security officers before Cassian can consider Luthen's offer. The two successfully escape back to Marva's house, where they corner Karn and assess the situation. Meanwhile, Tim inadvertently reveals to Bix that he was the one that informed on Cassian, causing her to rush to aid Cassian, only to be stopped by officers. Tim attempts to protect Bix, only to be killed by a trigger-happy officer. The officer is sent back to the shuttle to await punishment, which has been unknowingly sabotaged by Brasso. Luthen creates a diversion to distract the officers as he and Cassian escape, also rigging it to explode and kill some of the officers. Luthen and Cassian successfully flee the planet, leaving a stranded Karn and Sergeant Mosk behind. In a flashback, Marva and her husband Clem are revealed to be scavengers. They discover Casa on the crashed ship, and against Clem's wishes, Marva sedates Casa and what? So Marva sedates Casa and takes him with them, fearing repercussions from the Republic should they find him at the crash site. So yeah, a lot happened in those 3 episodes, and they're roughly about 40 minutes apiece.
Yeah.
So you're looking at an hour, 80 minutes, 120 minutes.
Yeah, but the length of a film.
About the length of a movie.
Yeah. No, it was. I really fucking enjoyed this show. I think that one of my arguments, and it'll continue to be one of my arguments, is that you can do whatever the fuck you want with Star Wars. Because
Absolutely.
it has so much room to play. And as much as I will continue to argue that Star Wars is a children's franchise, I will also argue very much and very hard that Star Wars can also be dark and gritty.
Absolutely.
Like, this show is arguably more adult than past things we've seen. It's the first time in Star Wars we've heard anyone say shit.
Yeah. And when Cassian's trying to get away from that fight with those 2 fucking security officers, I mean, he point blank shoots the one in the face.
Yeah, like looking into his fucking eyes as he put one between the eyes. Like, it's a dark show. It's a dark show, and I appreciate it for being dark.
And it's not like directly tied to the Skywalker saga. This is more about Cassian Andor and how he, who he is, how he came to be a part of the Rebel Alliance, and in the early days of the Rebel Alliance. And I enjoy seeing that shit. It's a big sandbox that there's not been many people play in.
Well, one of my biggest complaints about Obi-Wan Kenobi was that I didn't feel like anything necessarily mattered that we watched, because most of the characters that were important to Obi-Wan, we knew their fate.
Yeah.
We only know one person's fate in this show.
Yeah.
It's Andor.
Yep.
So there's a
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, he dies in 5 years on Scarif.
Yep. Yep, he sure does. But getting to know his character more than what we saw is fucking awesome. We had
Yeah.
one movie with Cassian Andor, and he wasn't even the main fucking character.
No.
So
And he was a great character in that movie.
yeah, he was.
In a movie filled with great characters.
Right. So I'm really happy with this show. Like I think it's gonna be better than a lot of the Star Wars stuff that we've seen. Is it gonna be better than Mandalorian? You know, we can't tell yet, but as of right now, I'm really digging it. And
As of right now, it's the second highest rated thing on Rotten Tomatoes that's not The Mandalorian.
there you go.
Like Mandalorian's got like a 93% rating, and this has an 88 after a day.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. So it's being well received, thankfully.
Well, I mean, it's deserved. I mean, it's
fucking good.
It's really entertaining. Like it's compelling, but it's not slow. You know, we get introduced to characters that have a fate by the end of these 3 episodes, and it's both satisfying but heartbreaking. It is really well put together. You know, like, will we ever see Bix again? Who knows? We wouldn't have to, but also like I can't remember his first name. I wanted to say Alexander, but I don't think that's Alexander Skarsgård.
No, it's his dad, Stellan.
Stellan, thank you. I was like, I knew it wasn't fucking Alexander. First and foremost, the fucking Skarsgårds, like, did they make a pact with the devil that said that all of them were going to have good acting skills?
I mean, maybe.
God, they're all fucking fantastic. And him showing up in this show is just like, all right. I mean, don't get me wrong, Diego Luna fucking kills it. Like, he shows emotion in a very different way, in more of a stoic way for the sake of his character. I'm fucking happy with this show. I'm really happy with this show. I think it's going to be a continuous, you know, source of entertainment as the show goes on for 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy that we're getting that long of a show on Disney Plus. But, you know, I'm down with it. So
me too.
I also like how the show was very clever about its flashback. It showed, like, so the reason I say that is a lot of shows will do flashbacks at scenarios, but not tell you that it's a flashback. You just kind of have to figure it out based on context. But this show did it differently. This show said, here's a flashback. You know it's a flashback because we showed you Cassian sleeping and then waking up from that dream about him back on his home planet. So anytime from here on out that we show you this scene or show you these people, you know it's a flashback of Andor. And I was like, that's fucking smart. That's a smart way to do that. So, and I'd love to know more. I hope they keep doing that. I hope we get more backstory about his character and him growing up. But at the same time, if we don't, you know, who cares? We got what we needed out of that. We got how he got off that planet, why he has the accent he has. I don't know. The show is it's fucking fantastic.
So far, yes, absolutely. And I just think it's just going to keep getting better. I would like to think that it's going to keep getting better. But even if it doesn't keep getting better and stays as good as these 3 episodes were, we're in for a fucking treat.
Absolutely. 100%. Also, I there is a character that I know is in this show. I don't know when, but when I went to the IMDb, I wanted to look up like certain characters. I wanted to know, like, and it was like one of the actresses is playing Mon Mothma.
Yeah, Genevieve O'Reilly.
Yeah. And I'm like,
she's been Mon Mothma since Revenge of the Sith.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was a different actress.
No, and she's also done the voice on Rebels, and you know, that was her in Rogue One.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, she's in the trailer for it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Because I was like, does it count as a spoiler? I don't think it does, but
No, she was in the trailer.
But yeah, so we have one legacy character. I don't know, just like it's I'm glad that it's dark. I'm glad that it's a bit harsher in tone because it's really easy to make Star Wars a kid show, you know, or more lighthearted because of the setting. So I'm happy with it, but yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add. Do you have any other thoughts before we move on to a grade?
No.
All right, well, I'm just gonna give all three episodes an A plus. I
You know,
wasn't bored. I wasn't bored one time. I never thought to look at my phone. I was just digging it and enjoying the action and the intensity. Um, I love that our antagonists were arguably a one-time antagonist. I hope we see Bix again, but I also, if we don't, it makes sense.
yeah.
Somebody on Twitter was mad that like that dude like was with Bix. I was like, how did he
Somebody
get it?
was mad on Twitter.
Well,
Huh.
it's more to the joke that like he wasn't attractive enough for her. I think is what the joke was.
Oh.
Yeah, but I just saw it on Twitter. That's another thing about that I it's gonna sound really weird, but something I'm excited about with this show is that it seems universally liked. So we're gonna get 12. Well, I guess now
9 more episodes for the next 9 weeks.
I was gonna say 10 weeks total is what I was trying to do the math of.
Mm-hmm.
10 weeks of people being cool on Twitter about Star Wars or cool on social media about Star Wars. I could be wrong about that, and people just haven't fucking started speaking up. I don't know, but yeah, it's I'm excited to continue it. So A plus for me. What about you?
Oh, absolutely an A plus. It's been a stellar week of just wonderful fucking content for us to cover, uh, and I love new Star Wars, um, and I love what we've been given. I love that it's in unfamiliar territory. You know, we're seeing something new. We're seeing something dark and gritty, and I am totally down with it. And I can't wait until next Wednesday's episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I really wish She-Hulk was on Wednesday as well because it makes Wednesday nights going into Thursdays a bit rough, but
Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. We got Andor on Tuesday nights now. So, which honestly, the fact that we don't record on Wednesdays right now because of She-Hulk, I'm okay with just watching Andor on Wednesday.
yeah.
Whew, sorry. We only got 3 more weeks of this 4 show part. So, on that note, everybody, that's going to do it for us this week. Gotta pull up my notes for this one. So, if it wasn't clear, we're going to continue watching Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, and Andor until one of them ends. Which, if I'm not mistaken, I think
It'll be House of the Dragon's got 4 episodes left. She-Hulk has 4 episodes left. 3 episodes left. 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3. So
So
it'll be like
She-Hulk.
yeah. So She-Hulk will have her finale in 3 weeks, and then right after that, the following episode will have Rings of House of the Dragon finale. What about Rings of Power? Do we know how many episodes that is?
I don't know if it's 8 or 10.
I'm looking it up.
I think it's 8.
Rings of Power. Which is crazy because like we're looking at how long we're gonna be doing this review system. 8. It's 8 total. It ends on October 14th. So if that's the case, then Rings of Power is going to have 4 more episodes. So Rings of Power and House of Dragon almost the same time. I think it's the same time if math is correct. Because you said that House of the Dragon has Rings of Power, so 5, 6, yeah. So 4 weeks, 4 more episodes of Rings of Power, 3 more She-Hulk, 4 more of House of the Dragon. And then so we got about a month of doing a lot of like shows. Is long and short of it. So yeah, moving on.
But next week and for the 3 weeks after, it'll just be 1 episode of each and not.
Right. But that's still 4 reviews that we're doing every week for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Heavy is the crown. But yeah, so there's that. Make sure you guys follow us on all the socials listed below. That's where you'll find out if we're adding anything to the show. We're not right now. There's a lot. Like, it's not a lot of content for us to absorb, but it is a lot of content for us to talk about. We don't want to have our podcast go longer than an hour and a half, as a matter of fact. We're getting close to that hour and a half mark.
Well, we got to cut 7.5 minutes off the front.
Yeah, I was gonna say so we're not that bad.
We're looking at about an hour and 15.
It's still a lot of content, so that's why we're limiting it. But in the future, that's where you'll find out. Like, and you also get notifications on social media when new episodes go up. So there's that too. And all those links are listed down below, whatever source you're watching this on. But it's also like just search all queued up on anything, you'll find us. Check out the Teespring store. Fall's coming up. There's a lot of fall content, not for content, but fall wear on the Teespring store with our cartoon faces on it. And all the proceeds that go from that go right into the podcast. And if you do buy something, let us know on social media. We'll give you a little, retweet, a share or whatever, and give you a thanks. Maybe even shout you out on the podcast if you want us to. If you want to watch today's live video, which Maya, you got to get on camera eventually, girl.
I know.
But head on over to our YouTube channel. That's where you'll be able to watch it. I should probably do a few. I really should do some reviews for the YouTube channel. I've just been lazy. Well, stressed, if we're being honest about it. But and if you're looking for more podcasts to listen to, head on over to the Nerdvana Network. That's where you'll be able to find a ton of different podcasts hosted by a bunch of different people, including us. It's an entertaining place to if you're looking for something for your commute, or let's say you drive for a living and you're looking for podcasts to listen to, go over there. Tell them we sent you. That's it for my notes. Maya, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Maya Dawn Fisher. That's a public profile. And on that public profile, my Instagram and Twitter handles are linked to it. So it's your one-stop shop for everything that is me. That's where you can find me. What about you, Greg? Where can people find you?
Chub Geek on all socials. And I'm going to start doing some more solo reviews for the YouTube channel. So go give that a follow and you'll be able to see that. Also, I'm going to start doing a really good job of finding clips from the podcast that I can upload to a TikTok. I probably have to start a new TikTok account for that because the other one didn't get up. Nothing got uploaded for like 6 months, and I got a notification that the whole thing just got dumped. Like it's off of TikTok now. So, yeah. But I'll figure that out. Make sure that content gets at least a clip gets uploaded every week. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening again. You got 4 shows to watch to keep up with us. Or you can just listen to us. That works too. So there's that. And always remember, fuck the GOP. Fuck the NRA. Donate and help where you can. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.